Howdy.
No farmer. Just want to throw that out there. And back there in the booth, we've got our man Craig. What is up, Craig? How are you? But yeah, what's up, D?
Look up.
Look up. You know, it feels so. Is the Superman movie like kind of anti that Don't Look Up movie from Netflix? Do you remember that movie?
You know what? I feel like, with the world actually seeming to crash down around us and half the world denying that, I feel like I should rewatch that. I feel like I might have a different perspective on it.
I specifically really didn't like that movie.
Yeah, I really didn't either. But now I'm kind of curious. Would I feel a little bit different now?
Yeah, same. I remember I didn't like the movie when it came out. There was it just felt too cynical for me, and I just didn't appreciate it.
Well, and
now,
it's just
I really wonder.
Is that the kind of world that we even want to encourage the possibility of existing? But now we live in it, so now it's okay, well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just turns out I don't want to say that they were right, but it's not great. There is one part of that movie though that I did really like. There's one part of the movie I did really like. I'll throw that out there. Was there anything in the movie that you liked?
I mean, I thought the ending was kind of funny, but I mean, that.
Which ending?
I like the credits. No, I'm kidding.
So, yeah, okay. Which ending? Like the secret ending at the very end?
Maybe, possibly.
Is that Jonah Hill survived?
Oh no, I forgot about that.
Jonah Hill crawls out of the bunker and he's like, "Mom." Yeah. Or that everyone that goes to the other planet
landing
dies.
Somewhere else that they were not prepared for at all, and then dying, I feel is kind of what happens when you don't actually prepare. I
mean, that's fair. That's fine. There was a couple. I guess there's a couple things. Two things I liked. One, I liked that the algorithm was wrong, and I don't feel like this sounds bad because they highlighted where the algorithm was right. About the president, right? The president was going to get killed by whatever, right? This thing, and they don't know what that is. But the algorithm said that Leonardo DiCaprio's character was going to die alone. And he didn't, right? He died with his family and such.
Yeah.
Which I feel like, so on one hand, people would be like, Johnny, everyone is aware that the algorithm was wrong on that. But I feel like everything else about the movie was really heavy-handed in its messaging, that I am kind of surprised they weren't heavy-handed with that too, for someone to make a comment about, to actually outright say it, that it was wrong. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I think I'd agree with that.
And so the second thing, which we've talked about quite a bit on this podcast, David and I grew up Christian and such. So Timothy Chalamet's character in that movie, or as Florence Pugh calls him, Timothy Chalamela Bing Bong.
I forgot about that. Yeah,
he looks disgusting, right? And greasy the whole time. But I really liked at the very end when they're sitting down for dinner and they know it's coming. They feel the need to hold hands and pray. And the table is mostly scientists, and Leo's character is even kind of I don't really know what to say. And right. Timothy Chalamet's character, who is a Christian in the movie, is I know what to say, and kind of leads them in a prayer. And I really appreciated that. I appreciated the highlight of there is purpose for stuff like this. There is purpose for belief and faith and a communal expression of that kind of stuff that goes past, church attendance and tithing and all of the politics of it. There is a very real thing to it. And I really enjoyed that. That's it. That's 100% of what I enjoyed about the movie. Everything else I didn't really like very much. But yeah, I wonder if I went back and watched it now, if I'd feel differently. It's funny. again, we don't talk a ton about this, but like, you know, my whole life, really my whole life, we've been talking about climate change, right? Global warming, we called it back in the day. And this, how it's creeping up on us. And we have to do something to stop it. And then I feel like it didn't really feel all that different, you know? And then like all of a sudden it's just like way hotter for like the last 2 years. And
Right.
I'm just like, why? I thought this was supposed to be gradual.
I do think that there have been like substantive like changes in certain areas, but like that we haven't, like, it hasn't necessarily affected us directly, right? And so like it hasn't had a significant effect on our daily lives, and so we don't really notice it.
But are you saying that Superman would look up? I don't know.
To fight climate
guess
change, maybe.
well, I don't know, because like I haven't seen the movie. I actually don't even know if it's out here.
If it's not, I hope it comes out sooner, because I definitely.
Oh no, it is out.
That.
It came out July 11th.
Okay, yeah, same as here. Yeah,
you would recommend it, but D, I haven't been to a movie theater in like 2 years, right? I got small kids, so like that's just not gonna happen.
Yeah,
but I would like to see it. I am one of the people. I don't actually think Superman's a boring character. I think people who think he's a boring character don't understand Superman. That's what I would say about it.
I don't fully disagree, but we're also like hailing from like the best like fandom of Superman, I feel like, where he encountered the most issues, which is Smallville. And I feel like this like, I mean, I think Smallville does a great job of like kind of like, for lack of a better word, like, and I think actually probably an appropriate term in this case, humanizing him and giving him like other issues, you know, besides just like tests of his like seeming invincibility, you know.
I saw,
and I think they do a really good job of like giving him those like quandaries and like having to like kind of make his way in life as an alien, an illegal immigrant, as one might say.
I saw a top 10 list of all the different Supermans, and someone put Tom Welling as like number 9. And that actually really angered me, because I thought he's such a great Superman. It's like, tell me you didn't watch any Smallville, right?
Right.
Like just zero Smallville without telling me.
That's almost
also
like
is it, what's his name? Something Rosenbaum, right? What a great Lex Luthor.
Michael Rosenbaum. Yes,
he's such a great Lex Luthor too. Like, how
gosh,
could people say that they're not good?
So the Lex Luthor in this movie is fantastic. I feel like he's like it's so close, but I think Michael Rosenbaum still beats him out as my like favorite iteration of Lex for sure. Though I think
Jesse
this
Eisenberg?
Lex, I think Nicholas Holt's Lex is actually smarter in some ways, and I think that plays like. But also, like, we never got to see Lex Luthor from Smallville like actually grow up fully. You know, he was still like in his like 20s or like 30s or whatever. Like, it was kind of hard to judge that with all the other things he had going on. Like, we got glimpses of his intelligence, but like not a ton, right? So
well, and the thing about Superman that makes him interesting that a lot of people just don't get is that it's not about his durability or his super strength or whatever. It's about how does he maintain, like, when you have absolute power, how do you stay a good person, right? How do you make your decisions? How do you make it? Like, how do you use it? Like, which is such a hard, and I think if you look at it that way, it's such a way more interesting aspect of it than just like, can he out punch the guy, right? Like, no one's wondering if Wolverine is making the right moral choices when he's slashing through people, right? What you're wondering is like, does he have the fighting skills? It's not about that for Superman. It's about he stands for more than that, right? And like these dilemmas that get put on him, you know, it honestly, I know people would compare him, but it reminds me a lot of like Captain America type stuff.
Right? No, I would agree. Yeah.
Of like,
yeah.
Are you going to make the right choice?
Both are kind of representative of the place in which they live, you know? Like, even though I don't think either really asks for that, maybe Captain America does a little bit because he kind of lets the government do that to him. But I mean, like, Superman like doesn't ever necessarily claim to be like, American. He's just Superman. He's just defending people or whatever, Like,
Totally.
oh. Oh, okay. All right.
Hi. I'm going to
I
leave this
wasn't
in.
sure if I cut out.
Oh, no, I think I muted because I coughed a little bit and I just left it muted. Probably is what it was.
All right. Okay.
And by muted, I don't mean I muted on Discord where you could have seen it. I muted on my mixer. So you just wouldn't know that I muted while we're talking.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. Like it is interesting with that. Or even it's interesting to see people like be like Superman shouldn't be political. Right. And such. Like you brought up the illegal alien thing. It's like, but he's like, oh, he's not an immigrant. He's this or he's this. It's just so fascinating because didn't they have an episode talking about that in Smallville even? Like just to talk about that, it's always been part of the conversation.
So one of the previous Supermen in a TV series was Dean Cain, I believe. And Dean Cain actually said that James Gunn shouldn't have said that about his Superman movie, that Superman was an illegal immigrant. He said that was like essentially polarizing. But Dean Cain, in one of the episodes of his show, is asked if he has a green card. Like, I mean, like, it's just like, come on. It's like, how much more ironic can you get? Like, is that intentional? It almost feels like a psyop. Like, it's just wild. But yeah, well, and the thing that I really hate about like comics or like superheroes shouldn't be political. Like the whole nature of their existence is by like it's very premise political. Like we're talking about people with power. Anytime we're talking about people with power, there's some level of politics involved, especially when we're talking about like global politics and how that works with these people who are superpowered. And then also like from the very existence, the very like inception of superheroes, there's always been an element of progressiveness, at least in like all the major comics and stuff, like especially Stan Lee's works and such, and like Superman and Captain America and all that. Like, I mean, like these specifically have always been pretty progressive, pretty founded on the like ideals of like inclusiveness and such. Like comics have been ahead of the social norm for like sometimes by decades in some of the ideas that they promulgate. So it's just wild to me to like, like for comic fans, to be like, oh, like this shouldn't be political or this shouldn't be like, woke, quote unquote. It's like, what are you talking about? Do you read comics? Like,
well, and I mean, the problem is anyone who says that, what they're saying is that it disagrees with their political view or their views, just period. Right.
Yep. They
because
don't
when
like
it agrees,
that's it. Yeah.
When it agrees with you, you hold it up. Right. I grew up conservative Christian. When someone was a Christian or something agreed, we were very pumped about it. But if it was not something that agreed with what we thought or such, then it was like, oh, like they shouldn't be talking about it, kind of a deal, right? Or like it shouldn't be about that. And I don't know, like I recently saw a clip of Trevor Noah talking about how he has really been enjoying reading fiction recently, because in fiction he can just let the message like reach him. And he's like, when he's reading something that's like factual, he has more guards up because it's like, okay, well, like studies say this. Well, who did the study? Right? Like, is there any kind of what are the inherent biases in this? And like how many times he on his show like was like, okay, well, like this study is being quoted for this, but it was flawed, or like people are saying this, but like it's taking this out of context. He's like, but in fiction, it's all fiction, right? This is a world that you created. And like, so you're not like using that part of your brain to be like, oh, well, like, what about this? What about this? And it lets like the message of what you're trying to write about shine through. And I really appreciated that he said that, because like, some people will be like, oh, like, is this just a waste of time? Comic books and stories are a waste of time. And it's like, we can all really understand that, like, for example, in like the X-Men comics with like the Mutant Registration Act and all of the stuff the government's doing, and like that it's not right, you know, like
Right.
because it's fiction, but then there are parts of it that are true, and we can recognize when that's happening in real life, right? And it gives us that kind of a thing. It's great. I it's one of the things I really appreciate and I really enjoy as well.
The only thing that I would like add to that, because I completely agree, and that's also why I love fiction and like even like dabbling in writing some. But like also readers can kind of take whatever kind of message that they want from fiction, and that can get a little messy sometimes. Like if they take like something that you didn't intend for them to take and like use it to like validate their own like opinions about things. But that can also be really powerful for them to be able to use something like that to like kind of like bring some kind of like comfort or like some kind of like confidence to them. Or like, you know, like I send you quotes all the time from like, you know, whatever book I'm reading, you know, be it like a Jim Butcher book or whatever, you know, like, or, you know, and that's like about a wizard and vampires, you know, it's not exactly like a one-to-one analogous, like, hey, this is what we're going through right now.
One time on Facebook, back when I used Facebook way back in the day, I posted a quote from the Dresden Files, and the quote was, if you build a man a fire, he'll be warm for a day. If you set a man on fire, he'll be warm for the rest of his life. And that's supposed to be just kind of a joke. And at the time, you know, a bunch of my friends on Facebook were Christians, like Pentecostal charismatic Christians. And so like I was actually getting comments like, amen, you know, like amen. And I didn't have the heart to tell them that like you all would hate this book. I'm quoting this book that you all would definitely think I should not be reading.
Right.
And there is that, but yeah. Yeah. It was,
I mean, I don't know. Like, I think being able to take like something take a message from something that's not necessarily analogous and like apply it to your life is a very powerful thing. I think it can go overboard, of course, like anything else. But I think that that's the other cool part about fiction as a like reader, even as a consumer of it, is being able to do that. Like I like telling the story of like how Bridget like cried during like my youngest sister. Oops, sorry, didn't mean to dox you, sis. Love you. But
what's her address? To say her address, and I mean you might as well.
But she watched Guardians 3 and she cried, and my mom was like, "Well, I don't understand why she was crying. Like it's like, you know, it's like a bunch of animals on screen. Like it's like." No, like she's applying that. It's a metaphor. It's like a lesson. It's a message of like, companionship and like friendship family. And like, family and like all of that. Like it's just it's like we need to be able to do that to some degree to be able to like actually like,
Good Lord.
It's mean
what?
To
it's
us.
It's just a bunch of animals. Why is she crying? Listen, when I saw the Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is the last movie I saw in theaters, actually. And that whole movie, as soon as I started watching it, I was like, I'm not going to get emotionally attached to these animals because I know it's not a spoiler. I know that they're dead, right? Because it's Rocket's past and they're not in the other movie, right? You just know. Like,
right.
It's,
yeah.
As Chiho brings up, the death flag. Right, the death flag is waving from the beginning that you know that they're going to die. And I'm like, I'm not going to get emotionally attached to any of them because I know they're going to die. I was even actively thinking that while watching, and I still cried and got super emotionally attached to them.
Yeah.
And when it came, I was still heartbroken, But it is also interesting to see when people read into stuff, like you said, like they can take from it. It's interesting to see like whether it supports them or sometimes it doesn't. They're like, oh, this is about this metaphor. They're talking about this. And it's like, well, I mean, actually, that's not what they're talking about. Well, but then like you can get into the whole thing of like, well, do you care about like the artist or the author's original message and interpretation, or do you want, or like what do you want to take from it? It opens a whole different can of worms that I actually, like you said, I actually like. I appreciate it.
I think the problem usually lies in trying to apply it specifically as opposed to absorbing the broader message. I feel like if you absorb the broader message, you're usually pretty safe in that regard. But when you try to apply it like analogously, like 101, like that's when you run into problems where probably like that's a very specific reading of it. Like the more specific you get, the more likely your interpretation could be incorrect or like misrepresenting it. And there is something in the Superman movie that actually does have that, where like people are applying it to like specifically like Israel Palestine, and it's like, well, like when the script was written, that conflict hadn't even started yet.
Right.
And like, I mean, like, and there are some overall broader themes of that part of the movie that are like applicable to like any like kind of like broad situation like that. So, like, I mean, I feel like that's
right.
You shouldn't like, what I keep on saying is you shouldn't miss the forest for the trees. You shouldn't get so hyper focused on like magnifying certain things that you miss out on everything around it.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. I was just talking with a friend of mine here about how I can just use the specific example. I was doing a English lesson, and somehow we started getting onto the topic of I remember. I was talking about the English word phobia. Because I used the word claustrophobic, right? And he didn't understand that word. And this is an adult student. And so I was like, okay, so like claustrophobic, it means that like you're afraid of small, like tight spaces. But then I started writing down, actually, if you see any phobic, it means that you are afraid of something, right? And so like, phobic, it's phobia, right? So I wrote like claustrophobia, arachnophobia, right? I like gave a handful of examples of the word phobia. And one of the ones that I wrote was actually xenophobia. And so we started talking about xenophobia in Japan specifically of, xenophobia is kind of, I think in English, people would say it's a gentler word than racist, because it's that like you kind of like have a fear of foreigners, right? And Japan is usually not described as racist, it's described as xenophobic. And in my own personal experience, where it's like I get told that like, oh, like they don't allow foreigners to rent here, and that's it. Like, oh, like you're looking for an apartment, oh, this is a no foreigners apartment. Like, it's like, okay, like, and that's just allowed, right? And so I was talking about that, and my student was like, who's a 60-year-old man, he was like, no, he doesn't think that Japan is xenophobic. And I was like, what are you talking about, dude? Like, and so I gave him a specific example. And in the example I gave him, I talked about this thing here in Japan we call gaijin seat. So gaijin means like foreigner. And what it is when you get on public transportation in Japan, when you sit down, if people won't sit next to you, they will leave an open seat next to you often. This isn't a rule, but just like if you ask any foreigner who's been living in Japan, like, yeah, we've experienced this. My favorite is sometimes there's only one seat, and I'll actually sit on the train. I'll sit in that specific seat, and there's like Japanese people on each side of me, and they'll get up. And sometimes they'll move to another seat, or sometimes they'll just stand there if there's no other seats.
That's kind of wild.
They'll just get up. I know. Insane. Can you imagine? Yeah. Like you sit, there's an open seat, you sit down, and the people just get up and they walk to like the other side of the train car and just stand there because there's no other available seats. Like this has happened to me more times than I can count. This phenomenon that they call gaijin seat. And some people are like, no, it's not real, whatever. And so I just use this as an example to talk about a broader problem, which is xenophobia, right? And it applies in lots of ways in Japan. Like, right, it just really covers a lot of things. But like I'm using this specific example. And my student, he got so honed in to this specific example he was like, oh, maybe it's because you were just taking the train from here to here and people aren't used to seeing foreigners around here. And I was like, it happens all the time. Like, not just to me, but lots of people, like, not just here in Tokyo too. Like, or he was like, oh, like, my favorite was, he was like, maybe because the people sitting next to you didn't speak English, they felt a little nervous and uncomfortable, and they thought you would feel more comfortable if they moved. So in a way, like, they're thinking about you and how comfortable you are, because like you're not Japanese. Like, and I was like, what? No, I don't think that that's what it is. But to talk about like losing the forest for the trees, right? The rest of that lesson, I tried to like move away from that example, because that's all it was. It was just an example of like a very broad topic. And he really latched on to this example and spent the next 20 minutes trying to pick apart this example and show how like, this example doesn't work. So like there's not xenophobia here. To which is like, well, that's just like one specific example. And like, they're totally in, like, no matter how hard I tried to move away from it, he would like kind of bring it back, which was super interesting. But yeah, like sometimes you can see those things, or even like you brought up like the Israel-Palestine conflict situation. I don't know, like at this point, like it's been going so long, like it's just ridiculous. And people latching onto that, I think that you can, and they're like, oh, look, like they're like commenting on it. And it's like, okay, well, maybe not. But, you know, warfare and people doing what they're doing in, you know, whether it's the United States and like Israel and Iran, or Gaza, or like, you know, Russia, or like all of these places in the world where there's like conflict and pain and death. All of this stuff is like not new at all. Right.
Right. Exactly.
Yes.
Like,
exactly. Like it's, you know, they don't have to be talking about a specific thing to make it, you know, for it to be relevant. Like this is something that humanity has been dealing with really as long as there's been humanity. And not to like, it sounds really bad, but it's just the truth, right? Like, you know, we've always had warfare. One of the things that I thought was really interesting was I was reading some books about like technology, and how, you know, pre-World War I, people really thought in Europe that there would be no more war, because like with globalization and how countries economically were relying on each other, why would we have war, right? Like we rely on each other, and like, you know, look at how economies are growing and such. And so they really thought that like with technology, we were going to end war and violence. And then like World War I happened, and we were like, oh, never mind. Never mind. It turns out that that's not what's going to happen. But anyway, it's so just, would you recommend? Oh, go ahead.
Well, like, I mean, like, and that's one of the things that always interests me too, is like how much history like kind of repeats itself, at least in themes, where it's like, it seems like there's certain things that we just kind of forget sometimes. Like the fact that like immigration has always been a topic in like the United States history, because of the like whole idea of the United States being essentially a great experiment, you know, a melting pot, like inviting people from a bunch of different countries, you know, and like treating them like as equals or whatever. Which I think is a really cool idea, by the way. But like even in comics, for instance, like Superman comics, Captain America comics, like they were addressing these issues. Like, yes, people will fearmonger, you know, and use people like immigrants as like a scapegoat to try to get people on their side, you know, to like try to pass their own agenda. Like, yes, that has been a continuous, like, recurring theme of people trying to build power, is to like try to have a target to rally people around. And like, you know, it's just interesting to me.
Well, yeah, but, it's exactly what you said of like having a target, right? No, totally. Right. Well, and I mean, you know, maybe other Americans don't feel this way, but like, you know, my mom moved from the Philippines to the United States. So like whether or not people were aware of it, I was very aware of like immigration and the topic that it was amongst, you know, people. right? And this comes back to that thing of like, oh, like, is it that these things weren't happening before, or is it that we're just aware of it now? Right.
Right.
Yeah.
But Superman was great. Really, really, really good movie. Not like super agenda pushy at all. Like, I mean, like when it comes down to it, it was just a really inspiring message of hope from an illegal immigrant.
I mean, that's what I've actually heard though too, is that like it was just it was a very fun movie.
Yes. Yeah, I would agree with
that.
Yes.
And that people, it's just like a fun movie to watch, and that people left it feeling hopeful, which as opposed to the movie that we started talking about, Don't Look Up, it's like the opposite of that, where I did not feel hopeful finishing that movie. Right. And that's one of the things I didn't like about it.
I think, one of my earlier mentors always told me, like, I mean, like, try to offer a solution when you bring up a problem. Like, have ideas on how to solve it or whatever. It's good to recognize the problem, but you also need to work for, like, solving that problem. You can't just bring up the problem and then like, be all doomer about it. Granted, I'm paraphrasing. That's not his exact words, but
doomer. I like it. I like it. Yeah, you have to offer a solution other than kill yourself, right? That's the one that I heard a lot on the internet in the like early 2000s, right? Is like, oh man, you should, not that one. For those who are listening, that's not the solution you need to offer people.
That's never the solution.
I wanted to talk about, hold on, okay. I wanted to talk about a very timely topic. And that is, I've started playing Final Fantasy 12 on the Steam Deck. Let's talk about new games. I started playing Final Fantasy 12 on the Steam Deck. And so listen, so for those listening, you guys know I'm not like, oh, they used to make games better and games nowadays suck. But what a great game. Like the world building in it is like right out of the gate, on one hand, I feel like it took a while to get to the game part, but like comparatively, I think it's not so bad. I'm really enjoying it. And it's interesting because I'm going to say something. Are you ready to get hurt? I'm about to hurt you, D.
Sure.
Final Fantasy 12 was released in the United States on October 31st, 2006.
Jeez. Oh my goodness.
Final Fantasy 12 has a very special place in my heart because for me, it was the first Final Fantasy I played that was new when I played it. Does that make sense? The other ones I played, they had already been out, right? But this one, it was like release date. I bought it new, right? Like I remember before it came out even, and like being excited for it. And that means that I played this game 19 years ago. And that doesn't feel good to me, realizing that. I'm like, oh my God. Like, you know what it reminds me of, D? I'm sure you've heard people say this to you. It reminds me of when people would be like, oh man, you like Star Wars? I watched Star Wars when it came out in theaters, right? I saw the first Star Wars in theaters.
Yeah.
Like, and just, like at that time, like in the 2000s, it had been like, 20 years? When was Star Wars Episode 1 released? 1977, right? So like, yeah, more than 20 years. And so for people to be like, oh yeah, I remember seeing Star Wars in theaters, that just sounded crazy to me. But like, that's what I sound like right now, being like, oh man, yeah, I remember playing this when I was a kid when it first came out. Oh, that was 19 years ago. For reference, D, freshmen in college were born the year this game came out.
That's insane. That's wild. That's really wild.
Well, it's interesting going back and playing some of these games, especially some of these games that because what I'm learning is that I must have just sucked back then. because I actually got stuck in this game. I never finished it. And I remember a lot of the story beats. And I think what it was is I used to play RPGs and I would just go like story mission to story mission. I didn't do a lot of side quest stuff, you know? And so like I would get kind of under leveled, you know? And then I would just get stuck. Eventually you can't push through. And I didn't like going around and just killing stuff to try and level up. Like I'm more used to it now. And so, yeah, I'm going through it. I haven't had a hard time and I'm having a great time playing. It's a great game. So I'm playing it on my Steam Deck, playing it on Steam. They have like a remastered version, but it's very like the original graphics. So it's not like a huge step up or anything like that. It's just like the ability to play the game. And it's great, man. I'm having a really good time.
That's just so funny to me because I usually have the opposite experience with older games where I play them now and I'm worse at them. So,
but also,
so like Donkey Kong Country, Diddy Kong's Quest. Oh my gosh, that game kicked my butt. That was like, wow.
Well, let me throw out there, Donkey Kong Country and Diddy Kong's game are more skill-based games.
Okay, sure.
Final Fantasy being an RPG is a lot more about planning, right? And like building out your stuff of like, okay, like I'm gonna, okay, so like this guy, like, you know what, you want to hear, this is gonna sound so crazy. I looked at people's stats, D, and I was like, oh man, this character in when I played this, 20 years ago, I always had him as a gun character because he starts out with a gun, but he actually has really great like physical stats. So he's using a spear now, and he's awesome. And here's the weird part. His attack speed is faster with a spear. So he actually is just outputting more damage just period because he's hitting more often than like leaving him with there are certain things like that I just also 2006, not using the internet very much. Right.
That's true.
So just look up, which license should I give them? Which job, like that kind of stuff. Not using it for that kind of stuff as much as you do nowadays. And it's been a good time. So I've taken a break from Octopath Traveler a little bit. I've been feeling like playing Final Fantasy 12. I think this is going to sound crazy, but I think I'm like 8 hours in already and really enjoying it.
That's awesome.
But
that's fantastic.
I will say this. It is interesting from a storytelling perspective in that the main character, Final Fantasy 12, is very much a along for the ride type character. So like the story is really about these other characters, but like the protagonist who you are is like this younger kid who like randomly runs into them, and it like ends up kind of going along with it, and it very much feels that way, if that makes sense. Okay,
sure. Yeah, no, that does make sense. Yeah.
From the game perspective, it's a little bit, I don't know. It would be almost like if I'm trying to think of like a shorter story that this would work, that it makes more sense with, but like, I don't know if The Expanse was just told from Amos's perspective the whole time, or like, yeah, I guess, I don't know, like of just like, oh, it's just this character that he's not the one that's like that all of the events are the events are happening around him, but he's not directly involved. Right. Like that's what it feels like. So it didn't bother me very much when I was a kid, and it doesn't bother me very much right now. It's fine. Whatever.
I kind of wish that there was like a term for that, because it's not quite second person view. Because second person view would be like more like a side character just watching events and like not being involved at all. But like it's not quite first person either, because you're not like
I got it. It's Star Wars Episode 1, but from Jar Jar Binks' point of view. Like really though, right? Like just like you just randomly run into them, and you're involved. You're part of it, but like really, this has nothing to do with you. You're just kind of here, right? Yeah, let's call it that. It's the Jar Jar Binks test, right? Does it pass the Jar Jar? We need to come up with like some rules for it or something. I don't know. But it's been fun. I've been enjoying it. So, and it's is the Steam summer sale over? If the Steam summer sale is not over, it's also on sale.
Huh. Okay, so there's another interpretation of second person, which is like when the subject is you. Interesting. Okay. I feel like I've heard different things about that, but that's fine. You know what other game is about to be on sale? Um, is Donkey Kong Bonanza.
Donkey. Okay. Right.
Yeah,
The new
on
Donkey
July
Kong
17th. Yeah.
game is not
And
out
apparently,
yet.
because of the destructibility of the environment and like some of the new things that they're trying to like do, there's some performance issues sometimes, right?
Oh, really?
Because like voxel like environment destruction, or any time that you have destructible environments, like yeah, that can be a lot. That can tax the engine pretty heavily. Nintendo's response to that was not, oh well, like there will be a patch, or not that like making games is hard. Their response was honestly the best response I've heard. We decided to prioritize fun and playability. Is what they're.
They're like, yeah, we just wanted to make it fun. Oh my god.
Yeah. Which, hey, I respect that answer. That's a pretty good answer. But yeah, looking forward to that coming out. It looks fun, but I've also tried to avoid like some of the more detailed like the Nintendo Direct about it, and like some of the trailers. Like I'm like, I don't need to know too much about it. It's Donkey Kong. I'm sure I'll have a good time.
Do you want to announce what you got a thing for?
Oh, I just arrived. I just arrived today. I just got a Switch 2, so I'm pretty excited.
You got a Switch 2. Congratulations. Yeah, How is it?
I gave in. I literally just got the box today, so I haven't even opened it. So I'll probably open that on my Nintendo stream tomorrow.
Oh my gosh, that's so exciting.
Yeah, but yeah, I gave in. I got it. So yeah. Now will I get the Xbox ROG Ally next? Who knows? Probably not. Oh, probably not. My ROG Ally runs fine, thank you very much. I played Elite Dangerous on it day before yesterday, and it ran like a dream. It was so
Didn't
fun.
We talk about this? If someone listening was going to pay you like $300, you would just sell it and then buy a new ROG Ally. Wasn't that what we agreed on?
Yeah, that's true. We did.
Wasn't that like we said that on the podcast?
Like that would be enough for me too. Oh, there's allegedly leaked prices for that, but the leaked prices are UK prices, and they don't necessarily align like directly via conversion rates. Like for the ROG Ally and the ROG Ally X right now, for instance, the prices are pretty disparate from their conversion rates. So those leaked like UK prices or EU prices or whatever they were don't necessarily indicate that that'll be the price in the US. I think it was like, I want to say it was like 1,000
pounds,
euros or whatever for the ROG Xbox Ally X. Oh my gosh, that's such a mouthful.
Hey, at least they're, you know what, good on Xbox for just like sticking with it, just being like, listen.
I wonder
if we don't want you to know what our product's called. We don't even want you to know.
I wonder if Asus had more to do with that naming scheme than Xbox, though.
It's just ridiculous. ROG Xbox Ally. So what is with this? Because like some companies are just good at name, like the names are good, and then others like just have terrible names, right? Like the example I would give is like with headphones, right? Like Sony, it's like it's the Sony A4, and it's just like a list of letters and numbers. And then it's like Apple is like, it's just the AirPods 4, AirPods 5. That's it. Why is it like this, D?
Yeah.
PlayStation did a great job, though. You know what? I did hear a great example of why it is like that for Xbox, though, and Xbox didn't go with the naming trend PlayStation did. Because Xbox is a generation behind, technically.
Sure.
Xbox
Yeah. No,
started.
I
right?
do agree with that. Yeah.
And so like for the Xbox, if it's like it's the Xbox 2 and the PlayStation 3, like there's just a connotation there, right? Of like, oh. So like I get why they did that, but like I'm going to be honest, what they've chosen to do instead, not helping. Not really not helping. Oh my god. I don't want an Xbox. Well, I don't know. I just said I don't want it. And I'm like, well, I mean, would I take one? Sure. Do I want to buy one? Oh, you want it? So check this out. So this is where I'm at. I have an OP1. This is such a niche conversation. I have an OP1, which is a synthesizer, right? I have an OP1 field.
Yeah.
I also have an original OP1 synthesizer, which they call the OG1 now. And they're very expensive synthesizers, right? And my original OP1 synthesizer actually is having an issue where 3 of my keys are broken. Okay. Not great, but it's also, I'm only kind of keeping it because of, I don't use it anymore because I have the newer version, right? I have the newer model, but I'm keeping it like, cause it's a classic synthesizer and like, there's no reason for me to throw it away. Okay. And Teenage Engineering through a website. I don't know if you're familiar with this website called iFixit. I don't know if they don't only do synthesizers. I know they also do stuff for you can buy like switch parts on them, but basically it's like a pro repair website, right? And you can buy the parts for it and they'll walk you through how to fix it. And I've actually bought parts for Teenage Engineering synthesizers there in the past. The new model, right? The OP1 field is actually significantly more expensive than the old model, the original OP1. And to top things off, when they released the new model, they have stopped producing the parts for the old one. So like if you have a broken old one, you can't fix it, at least not with actual parts from them. It's been like this for a few years, but I actually emailed their repair service recently and asked, like, can I get parts just directly from them? Because I can't get parts from the website, and explain my issue. And they offered me so right now they're doing a sale. So you can get the new OP1 field for like $600 off. They offered me even more of a sale so I can buy it for the price of the original OP1. So it's like 40% off. But I don't have $1,200 to just spend on another synthesizer. That's the same synthesizer that I already have. It just doesn't seem worth it. And I don't know, is that scalping? If I like buy it at this low price and then sell it, is that what scalping is? Kind of.
I heard an interesting, like, I thought about scalping, about like potentially that scalping is actually relatively validated by the fact that like prices are set too low, and that's essentially why scalping happens. And like I kind of find it hard to like completely refute that. Like I think there's some truth to that, but I think otherwise people who can't afford like things that would be ordinarily out of their price range would never get a chance to get it if it wasn't like set at a lower price point. So like I mean, I don't necessarily know. Like, I think that's a problem, but I don't know how you get around that and still offer it to people who ordinarily wouldn't have a chance to get it. Yeah.
Well, it's hard because it's also scalping exists when there's limits, right? So like, or like not limits, like supply issues, right? Like the OP1 field is $2,000. Nobody is scalping that. Nobody's spending $2,000 on a synthesizer and then trying to sell it for like, $2,500 or $3,000.
Yeah.
$3,000. Like no one's doing that markup because you can just buy it from them for $2,000. Like why would you?
And that's because it's like priced like appropriately. Like
well, I mean, most people in the synthesizer community would say that it's like way too expensive and nobody should buy it. But yeah, it's priced in a way that only people who want to have it are buying it. right?
Sure. Yeah.
But then again, like synthesizers are way more niche than like video game consoles.
That's true too. Yeah. Well, I just don't know how I'd feel like, for instance, with this ROG Ally, like I found the allegedly like leaked prices, like apparently it was like metadata scraped off Google search or something from their website. Says that it's going to be like £900 for the Ally X and 600 for the Ally. Or wait,
okay,
no,
so
sorry,
like
euros.
So like
pounds.
$1,000 for the X and maybe like 500. That seems like a really big jump.
Yeah, and like ultimately, when it comes down to it, usually like the Ally and the Ally X in the US are lower than that, even though the prices are relatively close to that in Europe. And so, like the Ally X is like around like normally it's around 800 to 900 in the US dollars, and the Ally is like 649 for the better version and like 500 for the lesser version. So my guess would be that this is coming from Windows Central in terms of like they're the ones like actually comparing like to the regular Ally and Ally X and how that differs between Europe and US. Like their argument is that we could probably see it be about the same price as the regular ROG Ally X and Ally, where it is like around 900 as opposed to like 1,000.
That would make sense.
Yeah. And the Ally probably at like 6, maybe 7. But then there's also the possibility of tariffs affecting it because tariffs are back on.
Hey.
So we also probably won't see U.S. prices until like the last possible minute, just because the tariffs do kind of throw things in flux.
I know Trump was mad at Japan for stuff, and he's like, "I'm going to tariff you for it." Is that going to affect video game stuff?
Almost certainly, yes. Almost certainly, like any electronic stuff will probably be heavily affected by tariffs. There were supposed to be originally carve outs for it, but I'm pretty sure those deals like never got finalized or like approved in any way. Like I'm pretty sure, like not to get too political, but I'm pretty sure we've had 0 deals made so far. So like I mean like we'll see how things go as the world progresses and as time moves forward, but it's not looking great.
Are you saying Donnie is angering the gamers? He possibly is going to anger the gamers?
Well, yeah, eventually, yes. Like, I mean, like, yeah, like when things get more expensive, which they will if these tariffs are allowed to like continue to exist. Like, yeah, like things will get more expensive, and that'll anger people. Like, yeah.
And before people get mad that I just called President Trump Donnie, I just want everyone to know on this podcast, and I'm not going to edit it out. That's the best part is I do all the editing. So like D's not going to be able to edit this out. Don't worry. I don't normally call President Trump Donnie. I normally call him Daddy Trump.
Oh my goodness. Well, and the people who would get upset at that would be the same ones who called like President Biden Sleepy Joe, you know? So I mean, like,
would they get upset? Would people get upset that I don't know. Do they listen to this podcast?
Maybe, possibly.
Do they listen to this podcast?
Probably don't anymore.
I don't think so.
Look, we love all people, you know, even people that we disagree with.
No, we don't. No, we don't. I don't love all people. I got a list of people that I don't like. There's like 10 people on that list, and I'm not saying that I hate those people, but I'm saying if you told me one of those people got hit by a bus, I would just be like, okay. I'm just listen. We've all been there. We've all been there.
That just sounds like a great clickbait article title. I've got 10 people that I hate on this list, and you won't guess who they are. Or that's a great. Who you'd expect.
That's a great. And then like it's like a weirdly long article, and then it's like a really terrible list. It's like Adolf Hitler And right, like these people that everybody can agree that like, oh yeah, we don't like them. For some reason, Justin Bieber's on the list. Did you know Justin Bieber released a new album, D? Let's talk about current events. Justin Bieber shadow dropped an album?
I did not know that, actually. No. That does explain why he's been popping up in the news, though.
I didn't know until I saw someone on Threads complaining about like he's using a different producer for this album and it sounds pretty different. And this person doesn't like that.
Oh, okay.
And
I mean, to be fair, like the producer can matter quite a bit in terms of like the overall sound and everything. Like that is a thing.
Yeah, no, and it does sound super different. It's super different, but like also like maybe it's pop music. Maybe just don't overthink it, right? Like,
well, and
it maybe it's not away made from for you.
Oh my gosh, it's almost like those other things still exist, and you still have access to them, and they like you could still listen to those if you want. It's almost like everything doesn't have to cater specifically to your interests.
But everything does have to cater to my interests.
Fair. Okay. Good point.
Everything does. That's the crazy part is that, but also, yes, everything does have to cater specifically to my own personal interests. And that's, why things exist, right? So that I can spend my money on it. But yeah, so, you have anything you want to cover before we wrap up? I figure we can just end on that. I'm really happy to support like a small indie artist like Justin Bieber and highlight his new album release. Want to try and get his streaming numbers up, right, D?
Yeah. I mean, like you just really got to help out these like unknown names, Like
yeah, I mean, really, he's from the internet, like.
To be fair, like he is, first of all, like that's true. Like his career is kind of a wild one when it comes down to it. Same with the guy who plays Superman, actually. Like he's not from the internet necessarily, but like he was a small no name.
This title is just going to be a Superman title, right? Because we spent like basically the whole time not talking about Superman, but kind of talking about Superman.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
So before we wrap up, I will not be okay with any Smallville, Tom Welling, or Michael Rosenbaum hate. They were so good.
They were very
so
good.
Yes. And Smallville is so good.
You know what? I'll go a step further. Justin Hartley was the best Green Arrow that we've had too.
Those are fighting words to people because there are a lot of people who like Stephen Amell's Green Arrow.
Yeah, but I would strongly disagree with them. I never forget. Like it wasn't his fault, but like there's something to be said for like when you're kind of sort of out of touch with the general public and everything, where like Stephen Amell, there we go. No R. Did a panel shortly after Hamilton debuted, right? And it was like a Comic-Con panel or something. And I forget why, but at the very start of the panel, he gets the cast to go da 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 da, and nobody in the room understood what that was a reference to.
Right, because
Hamilton
like
had
Broadway
just come out, and almost no one goes to Broadway on opening. Like it's kind of like viewed as like this elite thing, Either you're really
it's
into
super
musicals
niche.
or like, and it's also really expensive, like generally. So I mean, like, yeah, it's just.
I guess
now, should it be cheaper? But then you have scalpers, Like, oh my gosh, everything just keeps on coming back.
Well, I was gonna say that one of the things that I didn't love about Stephen. So I watched, I think, 5 seasons of Arrow, and one thing that worked for the show, but it is different, like with the Arrowverse, right, and such. Is so they just straight up, because it was happening during the DCEU, right?
Right.
They didn't have Batman, right? They just weren't allowed Batman.
Yeah.
They had the Flash, they had Green Arrow, they had Speedy, they had a bunch of those guys, but they weren't allowed Batman. And so I feel like Arrow, like, and then also they didn't call him Green Arrow for forever, right? Like he was like the hood guy and then the arrow and whatever. Yeah. But he really was channeling Batman for a lot of it.
Yes.
And so I don't think that you saying that Justin Hartley was a better Green Arrow, in the Arrowverse, Arrow and Oliver Queen is really different than a lot of iterations of Arrow. So like, I don't disagree with you.
That's exactly where I stand. Like, I think Arrow is like different than Green Arrow, just in terms of like their identities and the character itself. And I know that Arrow eventually becomes like a version of Green Arrow or whatever, but like it's still like it's almost like a different universe's interpretation of that character that's more Batman-y than like I'm used to seeing Green Arrow. So yeah.
Right. No, 100%. 100%. And on that note, make sure that you guys go watch all of the Arrowverse.
And all of Smallville.
And make sure to like and subscribe and do all the things. Bye. Get out of here, Craig.